Obama promised that he'd tax U.S. oil companies and give the money to the American people. But new reports say the president-elect is abandoning his windfall profits tax proposal. So it looks as if the plan to soak big oil is going the same way as Iraq and several other issues on which he's had a rethink. For reaction, we continue now with Karl Rove. Karl, do you think on the whole this is good to abandon the windfall profits thing?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Look, we tried this once before under Jimmy Carter. It cratered the American domestic energy industry, made us more reliant upon foreign sources of hydrocarbons, and it's goofy economic policy. I mean, the energy industry in America has a smaller profit margin than, say, the software industry or pharmaceuticals or chip makers. So why should we pick one industry out because of what we think its profits are when the amount of profit per dollar of sales is so much less than other industries? This was a campaign ploy, and it is a sign of the maturity of the emerging economic team that they're looking for an excuse to drop this.
There's some predictions that oil will fall to $25 a barrel next year. It's below $2 a gallon at the pump. Clearly, the demonization isn't as effective as it used to be. But what does it tell us about the president-elect? There is beginning to attach to him the idea that every campaign promise is meaningless. Now, whatever people felt about your guy, on the whole, he ran on No Child Left Behind, and he stuck with No Child Left Behind. I mean, he very much kept broadly to the governing philosophy he ran on. What's going on here, Karl?
Yeah. Well, I do think, look, Barack Obama has a very thin record of accomplishment in a very short period of time in which he's been in the public eye on a national stage. So, you know, he ran in the primaries to the left in order to grab a part of the electorate that he wanted to grab and keep from Hillary Clinton, and then he drifted back towards the center a little bit during the general election. But look, this is a sensible policy, and we ought to applaud it. If he drops the windfall profits tax, this ought to be something that every sensible American stands up and applauds, because it was dumb during the campaign. It wouldn't help the American economy. It would hurt our energy situation. It would make us more dependent upon foreign sources of oil, and it's good for if they have given it up.
By the way,
power to them for giving it up.
Rather than slapping him around, why not actually applaud him, Mr. Steyn, as I talk actually to Karl Rove here, for reacting to changing economic conditions. Things have changed. I mean, you know, President Bush said no nation building. That seemed to change when we went into Iraq. Every president does things in office that they said they would not do, or conversely doesn't do things they said they would when events change, right, Karl?
Yeah. Well, look, the only change is, and let's be clear about this, the energy industry will have roughly the same profit margin, that is to say about 8 cents on every dollar of sales today that it had when energy prices were much higher. There, you know, the only difference here is that rather than oil being at $140 a barrel and the oil companies making 8 cents per dollar of sales, the price of oil will drop to $40 or $35, and they'll still make 8 cents on the dollar. This was bad economic policy, and frankly, I'm applauding him for stepping away from it.
Good for you.
You bet.
Let me ask you this. There was some report out of the Weekly Standard that you're taking part in something called the Bush Legacy Project, having meetings at the White House about the Bush legacy. Is that true, and what is it?
Well, look, I haven't seen the report, so I can't comment on it, but am I out there defending George W. Bush? You bet. I was in New York, on the Upper West Side of New York earlier this week for a debate.
Watch out, there are a lot of liberals there.
Yeah, hey, I checked. The precinct we were in, where Symphony Square is, I think Bush got 8% of the vote in that precinct. So we were in front of about 850 people in New York, and I stood up in front of them and said I was appealing to them because I knew they were open-minded. Now, I don't think they were particularly open-minded,
but is it your goal? Are you working literally on a project to shore up his legacy, to make him look good for posterity? Is that part of what you're involved with right now?
What I'm involved in is helping set the record straight. When people say, like on Tuesday night at this debate, Simon Jenkins of The Guardian stood up and said that in the United States of America after 9/11, that the Bush administration rounded up Muslim Americans and that they, quote, disappeared, which is a complete fabrication. So you bet I'm out there defending the administration.
One of the other things you said
record against this,
on Tuesday, you said that the president, had he known that Iraq did not possess WMDs, he would not have gone to war. But he told Charlie Gibson that may or may not have been the case.
Well, I was asked my judgment. It was actually a little bit more than that. I was asked that question. I later expanded it to make clear that in 2002 and 2003, We all thought he had WMD. We know that now that that's incorrect. But we also at the time knew that he had the intention of recreating these programs, and we now know that that was accurate.
We didn't go to war on intention. We went to war based on the premise that he had.
Right. Well, we went to war on the basis of a complex picture of what we thought he had in the way of weapons and intention. He didn't have the weapons, but he did have the intention. Before we go, I love your blue tie, and I love Steyn's little red thing. I love how you're wearing your team colors. It's sort of like a gang thing going red and blue. It's really good.
I wore this for you. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Because we're talking about financial things, I wore my green tie.